Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Infuse You podcast. My name is Teresa and I am your host. The goal of this podcast is to help women and young girls fill up their cup. Oftentimes, we are so concerned with helping and supporting others that we forget to take care of ourselves too. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Miss Jacqueline Williams, aka Miss Jackie to me. I had the pleasure of working with Miss Jackie for a short time while she was at Honeywell. When I met her, I instantly knew that she was a positive person. She radiates positivity and high, vibrant energy, as my husband calls it, high vibes, or however you want to say it. That's Miss Jackie. She has recently retired after a 38-year career at Honeywell, and I'm going to be talking to her today about celebrating life and how she survived a 38-year career at Honeywell. For those of you that follow me, you know that I love national days, and celebration of life is actually a national day that started to celebrate the newborn life that we bring into the world with new babies. But it has since transcended into celebrating everyday life because we are not promised the next second, the next minute, the next hour, the next day, etc., etc. So we want to celebrate the life that we have, the life that God has given us. So I've asked Miss Jackie to help me celebrate life with all of you. So, Miss Jackie, thank you for saying yes. I appreciate you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
And so, before we dive into the celebration of life, I want to know if you can share with the listeners a favorite life quote, something that you have carried with you throughout your life that helps you get through tough times or just resonates with you. What would that quote be?
So I have a favorite quote now, and it does help me get through tough times, but probably it's an unusual one. Most people have these inspiring quotes. So the biggest quote that I use all the time, every day, is when you meet someone and they show you who they are, believe them the first time. And that's not just about someone's personality and say, oh, well, they're this way, so I'm not going to deal with them. Over time, that quote has changed for me because now I look at it as I want to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a certain way, before I would be like, oh, no, no, no. If you have these certain characteristics, I kind of don't include you in my circle. But now I'm more open to saying, I'm going to meet people where they are. Now, how I utilize that relationship changes depending on how you react or what kind of person you are. But that one always, always, always helps me deal with people for sure.
That's a different perspective because sometimes I don't deal with people because of what they are.
I
So
know.
thank you for sharing that. I have to ponder how I can kind of implement
Yeah. It helps your mental because then you don't have any expectations for them. You know how they are. So you just meet them there.
that. I like it. All right, Miss Jackie. So can you share with us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, your family, and your career at Honeywell? Can you just give us an overview of what you did in the 38 years? I
Sure.
know that's
Sure.
kind of hard, but
Yeah, it was a lot of moving parts, but yeah, so, like you said, I was there 38 years working in Honeywell. I am a native Phoenician, born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Went to Phoenix Union High School many, many, many years ago. I have one daughter. She is married, and I have one granddaughter. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm a Phoenician, and that's an unusual thing here in the Valley, but I'm one of the few that you would meet. And as far as my career at Honeywell, I started at Honeywell. I graduated from the University of Arizona, and the first job I had at Honeywell was debugging Fortran code from the mainframe. So I was a developer when I first started at Honeywell. Through my career, I became a database administrator on mainframe systems. Then I started working in program management, more so of just kind of working on projects from what I would call more of an administrative technical field. But then I kept down that path because then my first manager job was managing engineers who kind of maintained all of the enterprise level tools for engineering. So I was always in engineering all those 38 years. And so we managed all the tools from the very technical stuff to things that calculate things to all the pieces. We did them all. And then I also managed a configuration management team, as well as a command media team through my career. Then I moved into being a director of program management. So then I moved into managing program managers that were customer program managers. They were tied to the Boeings and the different customers. So I actually developed a lot of processes and tools around how they do their work. And so that's where I moved into. Then I went back to the tools side of things again. And then after I was in tools for a while, I started working on the product life cycle management tools and spent a lot of time there. So anyone who's familiar with Team Center, my team built the support model around the Team Center that we have today. Also, from there, then I moved into managing program managers, so project engineers, program managers, and that's really how I left Honeywell. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, my journey through Honeywell for the last 38 years.
And if you could pick one of those jobs to be your ultimate favorite position, which one would that be?
Ooh, ultimate favorite. Ultimate favorite. That's a hard one because, well, so management was a blessing and a curse. Management taught me a lot. So, in fact, my first management job, I had 30 direct reports. So, imagine doing 30 reviews, all the things. But so I got thrown into the deep end early, but it made me learn a lot about people, how to deal with adversities, how to, have those tough conversations, all the things that go with it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but it was one that taught me a lot. So, coming out of Honeywell in the last 38 years, I started managing only project engineers. So, I would say that would probably my favorite because my ultimate was to be a manager of program managers.
Okay. And then can you share with us what you believe is the biggest misconception about women in engineering?
Ooh, women engineering. That they are less than their male counterparts. That's a huge misconception. And even though you see a lot of women in those positions today, those things have not changed. I saw it still before I left. That still resonates a lot. And a lot of, I mean, I won't say a lot of it, but I would say probably 50% of it has to do of how women perceive themselves.
Right? So they have to know that they got it, know that they
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
It's okay for
You can't step back. You got to move forward. And we think we have to be perfect. We don't spend time self promoting ourselves. Men self promote themselves all the time. Women kind of sit back and observe first, and I'm not saying all women because everyone's different, but I'm saying as an average, you still see those same things.
that. Okay. Now, can you share with us how you navigated corporate America as an Indigenous woman and a leader?
How did I navigate? So think about it. 38 years ago, in a company like Honeywell Aerospace, I would be lucky to see someone who looks like me maybe once or twice a year. So it was more than just managing the work type things. It was more of even how do you have an identity? Because in those times, people who know me now think that I probably have always been this way, but no, I wasn't. I was just like those things that I mentioned just now about us promoting ourselves. I would be at the table, but I wouldn't, and even and most times knew the answer, but I wouldn't always speak up, or I allowed them to put me in a position of, hey, why don't you take the notes, or all those things. And even during those times, when I started moving up the leadership trail, they brought in people to like have seminars and webinars with the leaders, female leaders, and I would be in some of those courses. I had one leader who was a woman of color who said to us, my sisters, you know who you are. If you like wearing those braids, you better take them out because they won't take you seriously. Those kind of things. So maneuvering through that was tough. It was tough, but I have always been vocal though, so it didn't take me long to figure out how to just make sure that you're seen at the table. I don't care what it is. Ask questions, make sure you're being seen. Don't let them put you in what I call an administrative position on a team. It doesn't mean you can't help, but make sure that they're doing the same work that you're doing and when it comes to those kind of things, because they will start saying, well, that's your role and that can't be your role if you plan on moving up. You've got to be at the table. And I just started telling myself, they are missing out if I don't speak up, because we bring a unique perspective. And so if you're not taking yourself seriously and speaking up, then not only are you not growing, but the company's not growing, because you're as important as anyone in the room. So maneuvering around it was just starting to build my what I call my village inside work, right? So having people who help to mentor me, even if it was not a formal mentor, it was just they provided me tools to say, no, you need to be doing this, or even down to the point of giving me bad reviews because I wasn't speaking up, you know. So that's kind of how I started building the people around me. I got to know everyone. I'm very good at discernment. And so being able to deal with the different types of personalities and how people work helped out a lot.
Awesome. And it's funny that you mentioned the braids. I was told if I ever wanted to work in HR that I would have to make sure my hair was straight and flat iron. When I went into the interview, cover up my tattoos, and I thought, I can do that for the interview if they offer me the job. What am I going to do? I can't take my tattoos off,
Right.
and I'm not going to always wear my hair flat ironed. What if I want to put it in a ponytail? And I was told, nope. If you want to get in HR, this is how you have to dress, and this is how you have to do. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't think I want to work in HR. But I'm blessed that people like you paved the way so that I can rock my
Oh,
locks in HR, wear my tattoos freely. I have a tongue piercing, and
hmm,
I'm still accepted because they're taking me for my skills and with the things that I can do, not
absolutely.
how my hair is or like my
Yep.
glasses are big, and so
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome.
So I did some research, but I'm sure most people know that people are not staying at companies long anymore. So I researched, and it's been about 20 years since people have stuck with the same company. People are just
Hmm.
hopping from one company to the next. They get more money or they get to work from home every day. And they're like, sayonara, I'm out. I don't care about my 1K or anything. They're just jumping ship.
Yep.
So, can you share with us what led you to the decision to stay at Honeywell, to keep pushing through, to have that long 38-year career?
Yeah. It's funny because when I first started, I was just like everyone else coming fresh out. I'm going to be here 5 years max, is what I told myself. And no longer. I'm getting out. I'm going to be moving around companies, doing all these things. But again, back to those people who took me under their wing, they opened my eyes to the fact that Honeywell is a big organization. And definitely at that time, I mean, there's lots of companies now, but at that time, the benefits were great. I mean, we were 100% match, all the things. And so they just kind of taught me that if there's something you want to do, there's no reason why you should leave here. And Honeywell, and today, starting even back then and today, you are the captain of your own ship there. Like, they will allow you to learn. And they told us right out of the chute, we had CEOs at that time that were like, we have no loyalty to you. It's up to you to take all these things that we give you and learn them and promote and get yourself to where you want to be. And it's still that way. I know everyone's like, oh, they never give you a shot. Well, take the shot. You gotta, you have the opportunity to learn as much as you can from Honeywell. And I'll tell anybody who works in Honeywell, Honeywell spends a lot of time trying to figure out how they can find trainings and learnings and all kinds of things. They're not going to walk up to you and say, hey, take this. You have to decide this is where I want to be and you got to go for it. So for me, And it's better now. I mean, it's way better now. They have so many businesses, so many different opportunities to move, but you got to be willing to move. Even back then, you had to be willing to move to something else and try something else. So I stayed because the things I wanted to do were still at Honeywell, and Honeywell was still paying me well. So I stayed because I was continuing to grow.
Yeah, I agree. There's lots of opportunities in any company. You just have to, like you said, be able to promote yourself. And if you don't showcase yourself, you're going to just be another employee. As long as you're doing your job, they're going to let you stay in that same job if you don't keep pushing the
You
button,
absolutely
keep
will.
applying.
You,
Yeah,
if you don't do anything different, you will continue to stay where you are, and that's okay if that's what you want.
right.
But if you
Yeah.
don't want that, you have to move around. And they provide opportunities too. Now, is it perfect? No. There's still those people who sit on those interview panels. There's still people who they already know who they want before you even
Mhm.
go in for the interview. There is. But the beauty of going in and doing these interviews is because you get the opportunity to meet other hiring managers and
Mhm.
people in other groups who wouldn't have ever seen you otherwise if you didn't go
Exactly.
to that interview. So you still got to push through.
Yeah.
We self-sabotage ourselves by saying, no, why? They're not going to give me a chance. Well, it's not up to them. And one manager told me once when I was applying for a job, he said, it's not for me to see your greatness, it's for you to tell me how great you are.
You got to sell yourself. You got to sell yourself. And that's what I had to do. I had to keep selling myself.
Yep,
And those same hiring managers that I met with then reached out and said, hey, we got this job. Are you ready?
yep,
But
because
I was,
that's how it works. And it
yeah,
hasn't changed.
yeah. But I was down on myself because I kept applying and kept applying. And I
Yep,
was like, they're not calling me back. They're not calling me back, you know. And then when I wasn't expecting it,
expecting it. Mm-hmm.
I got the call. So
Came through. Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to be at Honeywell for 38 years. I'm only at
Well,
three and a
no,
half.
because there's other. That's why I said at that time Honeywell's, and they're still a great company, but there are other companies too, that are out there that do hire and have opportunities, and it's easier to do that now.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
advocate 38 years for anybody, but there was some benefits in those 38 years because when you talk about people saying, forget the 401k and all of that, I'm from the old school. I tell my daughter even now with her few little dollars, I'm saying, look, 401ks investing is your friend.
yeah.
Compound dollars, the math will still math
Yep.
in
People
the
don't think
end.
about
Not
that.
saying you can't do all the other stuff, other things that you've learned and this, that, and the other, but that is a tried and true because
Yeah.
I'm retired after 38 years and I don't have to worry about a thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, my dad always told me to make sure you invest, make sure you have your retirement plan set up.
Absolutely.
And he said,
And
don't keep jumping
yeah,
from company to company. You need to stay with one company so you can build, like you said, the interest
yeah,
and those
yeah.
matches.
And you don't even have to stay at one company, but you do need to keep that investment because
Yeah.
your investment can follow you.
Yeah. You can transfer it. Yeah. And back then I didn't know that. I was just
Right.
thinking he was just telling me all this stuff. But yeah, you can just keep taking it with you the next company you
Yeah.
go to.
So those young people who say, yeah, who knows, tomorrow's not promised. We all know tomorrow's not promised, but if you're allowed to stay here 80 years, you don't want to be trying to figure out how you're going to make your next meal.
Right. You got to prepare. All right, Miss Jackie. So can you tell us what were two of your biggest challenges that you faced being a woman of color in leadership, or one biggest challenge? I know you kind of alluded to some of it, but if you had to pick one thing that was the most challenging to overcome.
I would say in being a leader, a Black female leader, the people that work for you, because everyone doesn't look at you the same. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have did that for a man, but I felt like that a lot of things that employees demand from their female leaders may be different from what they demand from their male leaders because they will push envelopes that I don't know that they would. I'll give you a couple of examples. So I had one employee who her mom passed away. So typically, policy says you get those 2 days or whatever the days are now, right?
Hmm.
And so she took that. She had already taken time because her mom was sick anyway. She was already had taken a lot of time. And then so she took time after her mom passed away to a point where the business was suffering. She wasn't coming hardly at all. And then when I told her that she needed to, I told her all the things, that we have these services go on long term and all the things. And I mean, she kind of blew up, and I don't think she would have did that with anyone else. I think she would have came to work
Hmm.
regardless. It was those kind of things, or people who don't, employees who think that because they know more about a certain area of the work they do, that you're not good enough to manage them, that kind of thing. So I had a lot of challenges through people management when I was coming through, but I'm not afraid to tell people how I feel. So for me, it worked out because I was like, yeah, even when they had layoffs, I had to lay off someone who had 25 years in the company with my configuration management team. And they were pissed at me to the point where, I mean, they were outwardly showing it. Like, would you have done that to other people? That's how I looked at it. So I called
Right.
them all in a conference room and I said, I tell you what, the reason she's gone is because none of you volunteered to go. So it was you or her. So get it together. So whatever issues you have, get them out, because pretty soon you will join her for other reasons.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, people stuff was tough. People stuff was tough, and men will always try you, and mostly men. I'm in engineering, so I didn't have very many female employees.
Yeah.
I
And
don't a lot of male employees.
you bring up a good point about the female leaders because unfortunately it's still happening today. They want to push because just like with the example that you gave where if you're a new leader in an area and the employees know more than you, they figure, oh, well, we don't have to listen to her because we know this, line more than she does. She just started, but she's still your leader. She's your supervisor or manager, and you have to show respect for that. But because she's a woman, like you said, if it was a man in that position,
Right,
it would be totally different.
right, because they're afraid they'll get fired or something. Like the female won't fire them. Oh, they're going to give me many chances, but that doesn't always work in their favor.
Yeah, and it sucks that we have to go through that as women. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all good, like you said, as long as we're following what we're supposed to follow.
Yep.
They'll be the ones that lose in the end. All right, Miss Jackie, when you think about celebrating your life, what are some of the things that you do? Like when your birthday comes around, or if it's just you want to go out and have brunch with your girls, like what do you do to celebrate and to embrace life?
Yeah. Brunch is always a good option.
I'm
Yes.
going to brunch tomorrow, so yeah, I second that.
Brunch is always a good option. So personal time is quality time is my love language, and I'm true to that. So family, friends, all of the above are things that I lean to. I'm a movie buff, so I can just a simple have people over to watch movies is a good thing for me, but it's the time that I spend, like seeing you guys at the event today. That was like a high point for me because you're my people, right? You are
Yeah.
the ones that were my family before I left there. And so that's important to me. And so yeah, I spend a lot of time, like I said, I'm a president of a sorority, so I have 77 members. So I get a lot of time to do lunches and brunches and talk to people about what's going on in their lives and all the things. I like to travel. So when my girls are like, hey, let's go, like one of my girlfriends, that's how I ended up in Africa last year because she was like, I'm taking my mom to Africa. I was like, I'm going. So I always invite myself to stuff that,
You going?
that
I'm
sounds
going.
interesting because they've already planned it. I just need to get my ticket in my room. So
Right.
I like stuff like that for sure.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. What are your two favorite book recommendations that you can share with the listeners? Like books that you would recommend to help boost their confidence or just like a good read?
Yeah. So that's an interesting question for me because so I've been in a book club for probably 30 years. So my girlfriends out of college, we told ourselves that we were going to start a book club because it would be a way that with all the hustle and bustle and families and all of that, we were forced to see each other at least once a month. So we started a book club years ago. Now we used to meet every month. Now we probably meet every quarter, so it's kind of dwindling in time, but it's okay. I see them in other things now, but the book club was for that reason. But I'm a stickler about reading for pleasure, not for business or even motivation stuff, because I
Hmm.
get so much, well, I was getting so much of that through work. And when you're in kind of a corporate America setting, people are always giving you book suggestions to go read this. So my reading is more for pleasure. So I like autobiographies. Like one of my favorite books is it's called Dark Corner. It's about black vampires.
Ooh,
Weird subject, but we read everything. So we read everything from bolts, nuts to everything. We read it all. But I have had a couple of recommendations of things lately and even a few years back. So I don't know if you remember back when Chandra Rhimes wrote a book called Year of Yes.
I
Are you
think I heard
familiar?
of that book.
So that was one we did in the book club where, just to give you a summary, her thing was she told herself, I'm going to open myself to all opportunities just for this particular year. And so anytime anyone asked her to do something, a speaking engagement, or all of the things, she said yes. And it changed her life. It kind of boosted who she is today. That was kind of her story. So for my book club, we all took a vow that we're going to read the book of yes. And for the following year, anything anyone asked us to do, we're going to do it. It was great. Now, granted, you can't sustain that, of course,
Right.
but it did give us, each of us, and then we came back that year when we all met for the year and we talked about all the things we had done for the year and where it had put us in our careers, in our families, all the things. It was great. That's a great book. That's a great book to
Okay,
hear
I
her
have to get
story.
that.
Yeah. So that's one. The other book that I've read lately, from a standpoint of my sorority, but it'll work for any team, is Start with Why.
Start with why. I think
Why?
I read. Yeah, we read that. We read that
Yeah.
on one of the
Yeah.
teams at Honeywell.
Yeah. So that one I like too, because for teams, because that one is, that helps you ground yourself as to why you're doing something. And even when you feel like things aren't going the way they should or things are going awry, you just have to center yourself back to why am I doing this? And that gives you kind of the motivation to pick that passion back up again. So I like that one also.
Yeah, it's a good book. I didn't
Yeah.
want to read it at first, but I don't think I can.
I mean, yeah, I know. I know what you're saying.
But once you get into it, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's eye-opening. And
But
you're
for
like,
pleasure,
okay.
oh, there's tons of like those books that I've read, like the autobiographies. I just thought of her name. She was the warrior, the
If
king.
she's in a movie, I don't know. I'm not a movie buff, Miss Jackie. I
You're not
watch
a
some.
movie buff? Okay.
I have to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
my
yeah.
husband walk in here. He probably could tell you. He knows lines and scripts from all the different movies. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, all of those kind of things, those autobiographies of any of the actors, especially I do audio now. And
okay.
if they're in there and if they're speaking themselves, if they're reading their own books, I love those.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've done one audible, or like one audio book. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just can't get into it. People's like, that's the
Well, you
easiest
know
way to
what?
read.
I started either riding my bike or walking. That's when I started doing them. And so that's the only time I would listen to them. is if I got up and went walking or riding my bike. And I could,
I can't just sit and listen. I'm like, how can you guys
yeah,
do that? I have to be
no,
driving
no.
to something. I mean, when I
You
drive
have
to
to
work,
I have to be doing something too. I don't just listen. I don't want to sit and listen to it. But yeah, I'm usually either driving, walking, or riding
okay.
for sure.
Interesting. Okay, Miss Jackie. So those of you that don't know you, I know, and I need to get with you to get some goodies that, you shared that you bake and make some goodies. So can you
I
share a little
do.
bit about that and how people
I
can
do.
place orders for those
So
goodies?
it's just a little home business, and so for those who don't know me, we're still working on deciding whether how big we want to be. Like, do we want to do a whole website and go full in, or do we want to do like pop up kind of weekend things, which is where I'm leaning, because that way it's still, at least
Let's
right
work.
now. I may change my mind down the road, but at least right now. But for those who do know me, if you have my phone number, just call me. Tell me what you have a taste for. There's not a whole lot of things that I don't make, and so usually people just call me up and say, "Hey, have you ever made a caramel cake?" I said, "No, but I can try it." And I've done it for people all the time where, can I get a coconut cake with pineapple? And, so, but I do have a few things that specialties. So we thought about maybe creating a Google form that has like the things that I make most of the time. You want a pound cake. What kind of pound cake do you want? And just putting some things out there. So we're working on it. But if you already know me and you have my phone number, just call me. Just call me
And
and
if you
ask me.
don't know Miss Jackie and you want something baked, y'all reach out to me and I'll get you in touch with Miss
Yeah,
Jackie. Miss Jackie's
absolutely.
gonna work on those pop-ups so we
I'm
can
gonna work on it. I'm gonna work
get
on
some
it.
good
Pop-ups will be
baked
fun
goods.
because I can limit the items and say, hey, this weekend we're doing these things. And
Yeah,
so once they're gone, they're gone. Once you reach that maximum number, they're gone.
figure out. Yeah, being a small business owner is tough. Like we have the whole website and we have stuff in inventory, like keep promoting,
Hmm.
try to sell. And then I've been doing more vending events. So I'm taking the stuff that we have still in inventory. Instead of making more stuff, we just take what we got. We might make a few things here and there, but
Yeah.
you gotta use what you got first. You can't keep, especially with yours is food, you can't bake. That's just gonna be old. At least
Oh
ours is,
yeah.
clothes and cups and stuff, but still,
Yeah.
um,
Well, even with our stuff, I mean, um, I make them pay 50% of the cost, so that even if they decide that they don't want it, then it's
we're
no
gonna
no
eat it
problem.
and take your 50%.
You got it.
People don't understand that when you tell them you got to pay up front. It's like, look, and especially with the stuff that we do, we can't have no custom stuff that we can't sell to nobody else, and you ain't paying.
Right.
So if you
Right.
pay and you don't come get it, or you don't get to the wrong address, hey, it's insured. Then we can refund you because then we can get our money back. But they
Right.
don't get it. They're like, well, what do you mean? I need all your money up front because it's
All you
custom to you.
all of it. Yes, because it's hard. Yeah. I mean, and they do. I mean, when you don't do that, that's when they act up anyway. Like
Hmm.
when you don't make them pay up front, then they're quicker to say, never mind. Like, never
Yeah,
mind. What am I supposed to do with all of these dozens of this? Or what do you mean, never mind? Now I've invested my money in it. So
yeah.
yeah,
People don't get it. And especially family, they always want favors. So that's another
Oh
topic.
yeah. Oh yeah. Can you just bring look, I for a while I felt like that was the only reason I was getting invited to things. Because I could bring a dessert. And I'm like, nope, I'm not coming anymore. I said, if you just want a dessert, just ask me for the dessert. I don't have to come. I have other things I could be doing. So
Right,
yeah.
exactly. All right, Miss Jackie, my last question for you is what do you do to fill up your cup? So in the beginning, I introduced the podcast and shared that it's here to help build up women and young girls. So what are some things that you do to help fill up your cup when you're not helping other people and being a mentor and
Right.
running the
Right.
sorority and baking goods? What do you do just
Hmm.
for Miss Jackie?
Um, watch movie? No. No, 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 no. Mostly just think about the things that kind of give me joy. What things do I want to do that make me feel good? And I don't limit myself to any one thing, and I just decide that's gonna make me happy, and then I make sure that I do it. And It can be something small, it can be something large, it doesn't matter. Like going to Puerto Rico this year will make me happy. So I'm going. I haven't got tickets yet, but I'm going, and we're considering going to the Battle of the Bands, which is first part of February. May do that. But just and I love going to church on Sunday mornings. So from the spiritual side, I just enjoy being around people and who are thinking about positive. And then, I mean, one thing that I got from it this week was around us not praying. And I know everybody on your podcast is not spiritual people, but that's okay. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
but I am, so
Okay, that doesn't
they
matter.
can
But
scroll through the next, they can scroll on to
right,
it, they don't need to.
right, praying for something bigger. We limit ourselves in our prayers because we feel like, oh, the Lord has done so much for us. So why would I ask for another thing? But there's nothing in the Bible that says, the Lord says, only pray for the one or two things you want. If there are 15 things you want this year, then pray for them.
Yep. We have to pray
They
for
may
all of
not be
them.
promised to you, but they
Right.
might be.
Yeah. You never know
So
if you don't ask.
So that helped me a lot because I was that person saying, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Doesn't mean you're ungrateful because you want more.
Mm-hmm.
We should want more and we should go for more. So, one of our series right now is God sized. So Sunday was about God sized prayers. A God sized prayer doesn't limit you to a few things.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like you've already gotten enough. There's no such thing. If you want more, because you're thinking about it anyway, even if you try to act like you
Act like
aren't,
you know you want more than what you got. So
it already is. You're thinking about it, like so. Why not? So yeah. So I don't know. I relaxation. I do massages. I like to keep that in my regimen. Anything that helps me relax or feel good, I go for it. And again, like I said, I've been blessed with a good life, and so now it's not really a whole lot I can't do. I can go wherever I want to. I've learned through, just planning for things, that plans don't always work out, but it doesn't matter. If you went down the road and planned something out, nine
Mhm.
times out of 10, you might not get it this month, but you might get it 6 months down the road or even next year. But if you never do that, then you're always going to be chasing what's going to be the next thing I can do. Just put it out there and go for it.
Yeah. And you have a lot more time to do that now that you're not working full time.
Yes. I'm going to tell you the one thing that for the first couple of weeks, I just woke up in the morning thanking God because, first of all, I didn't know if I would ever get to that point. I mean, that's not true. I knew I would get to that point, but it's different when you get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from a long line of women who worked at companies for 30 years. My mom did 30 plus years. My mom, her sisters, a couple of my aunts, my sisters are retired also, 30 plus years. So that wasn't foreign to me to work longevity in jobs because that's what we did. They worked at Motorola and different places like that, post office. They all
Mm-hmm.
worked at these companies. So yeah. But the first, like I said, I wake up. The greatest thing about being retired is on Sunday morning, you don't have to say to yourself, oh, shoot, let me leave or let me go because I got to get ready for
Work.
tomorrow. That is the greatest feeling ever. And you wake up when you want to. There is no boundaries. You wake up when you want to. You get up if you want to. It's
Yeah.
great.
I can't wait to get there. Yeah, because on Sundays you like, oh, we're gonna have to cut this short. Gotta get up at
Right.
five
I got to
o'clock in the
go. Yep.
morning. Sorry. But yeah, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you, Miss Jackie, and I'm so
Thank you.
fortunate that I was able to meet with you and connect with you during your time at Honeywell. And then I wanted to share a fun fact with you. I know that when you introduced yourself, you said that it's rare to have a native Phoenician, but I'm actually married to one. My husband is a native
Good
from
thing.
Arizona. He was, yeah, born in South Phoenix, and yeah,
Okay.
so he's a
Did he go
native.
to South Mountain?
Yeah, we both went to South Mountain. I moved here second semester freshman year, and we graduated together.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, he went to South Mountain, TG Bar. I forget the other school off the top of my head, but yeah, he's a
Yeah.
native.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, you don't find too many natives, so they're
You
very
don't.
rare,
It's a
few and far between.
transit city.
Yeah, that's what he told
People
me.
people are in and out, in and out.
They be in, yeah, they be in and out. Um, so Ms. Jackie, thank you again for sharing your insights
You
today.
are so
Greatly
welcome.
appreciate you. And for those of you that are listening, I hope that something Miss Jackie shared today will help you along your life journey. If you want to follow her, she is on LinkedIn. I know she doesn't do a lot of social media, but you can follow her on LinkedIn at Jacqueline Williams, JACQUELINE. I had to make sure I spelled it correctly. And then if you want to get some baked goods, just reach out to me. You guys know how to follow me on social media or by my email or by putting a comment on this episode once it goes live. So next Sunday is National Spouses Day. So if you're married, make sure you tune in. I'm going to have a special podcast episode talking about marriage and fun things you can do with your spouse. And if you're not married and you want to tune in and share with a friend, do that as well. So you have been listening to the Infuse You podcast. Again, I hope something was said today that will help you along your life journey. Until next time, continue to do you, be you, infuse you, and be blessed.